Hey, what's up, my friends? I make predictions about world events. Two different world events, two different social movements we could see. I've pressed into quite a bit for the last really year or two. First is social movement in the U.S. calling for renewed calls for racial equality, racial justice in the U.S. This could be sparked by a controversial event targeting a young African American girl, possibly named Diamond. Possibly Diamond Williams. She could be attacked by dogs or canine units in a way that is incredibly controversial and again sparks these possibly nationwide marches for racial equality and for racial justice. Going abroad for another one, we could see very powerful movement and marches for women's rights occurring in India, sparked by yet again another injustice targeting a young woman, young girl possibly named Chandra. His name Kumar. Could possibly even be multiple victims for that one. But in general, just massive marches and protests for women's rights occurring in India some point this year. I wanted to mention both of these in one video, these predictions, if you will, because they both involve massive social movements and marches for racial equality, for women's rights, against hate, against injustice, and yet they both are sparked by injustice, specifically targeting two young women separated by an ocean in two different parts of the world, and yet are both victims and in their own way of hate and injustice. Kind of the mutual variable between them is that they are young women. And I think at the heart of this, there is racial injustice, there's societal injustice, cultural, psychological, economic, and I think there's also spiritual. I think there's a spiritual conflict and spiritual battle that goes alongside the cultural, the historical, the psychological. And I think it's almost this just worldwide battle, if you will, for this push for women's rights the world over. Women, especially young women, such as Diamond, and what may occur in India, oftentimes take the brunt of these injustices, that hate. And I think it's just indicative of how much, if you look at the world, there's much of the imbalance we see in the world, the imbalance in the geopolitics, the imbalance in the wars, multiple wars going on between Russia, Ukraine, Middle East, Iran, Israel, Palestine, all these global conflicts, just much of the imbalance that has sparked just so much of the conflict we see in the world. I believe the heart of that stems from an imbalance of human rights, specifically in this case for Diamond, and in India, women's rights. And I think the suppression and the attack on human rights, in this case women's rights, I think is a very large spark and inflection point in history that is a catalyst for a far larger geopolitical imbalance that we're seeing on the world stage these days. When women's rights are suppressed, there's an imbalance between the masculine and the feminine, in psychology known as animus and anima, the masculine and feminine traits, psychological traits that we all have. And with that imbalance comes, you have imbalance between the sexes, leads to imbalance in society, leads to imbalance in the state, leads to imbalance on the world stage. And then you have this aggression in violence and at times rage that is goes unchecked, in no small part due to the imbalance of human rights and women's rights. Yeah. So two different movements we could see 2026. if indeed this does take place this year, I believe it'll be probably mid to late summer and quite possibly beyond. Um, Diamond in India and Kumar. Two different events on my radar that I wanted to talk about and just kind of expand on that topic a little bit. And because of studying predictions, worth noting I'm filming this late March 2026. I have videos of Diamond going back to 2024. So I thank my friends for listening. Please be praying against hate, against anything that would suppress human rights, and especially women's rights, be it in the US, India, anywhere in this world. So I thank my friends for listening. Be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.